Hello, I am here to add a little content warning. Before we jump into this video, I do want to put out a little content warning of things I will be discussing or things that this book discusses that I will be talking about in this video. I will be reading Yolk by Mary H.K. Choi, and this book discusses many things from eating disorders, dysmorphia, bulimia, anxiety, depression, cancer, and bullying. So yeah, I will be mentioning some of those things in this video. Other than that, I hope you enjoy it if you are watching it, and yeah. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. We are back for another reading vlog. I don't know why, I've just been obsessed with reading vlogs lately. I've been binging them on most other booktubers channels. They're just so entertaining because I feel like I'm experiencing the reading. I feel like after I watch reading vlogs, I don't have to read the book anymore, which is probably kind of bad because then I don't get a lot of books on my TBR read. But anyway, we are back. It is Saturday morning and I feel like I'm going to be doing a lot of these weekend reading vlogs because the last reading vlog that I did, I just read so much, more than I've ever read before, because lately it's been taking me 3 to 4 days to finish one book, but when I do these reading vlogs I usually finish a book during the weekend. So anyway, today's reading vlog, we are reading Yolk by Mary H.K. Choi. I'm gonna be real honest here. I had read Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi, and I wasn't going to pick this one up. I've seen the cover, I've seen ads about it. I wasn't going to pick it up because didn't even bother with the synopsis at first because I just didn't like Mary H.K. Choi's writing. And then I read the synopsis, and I swear when I read the synopsis, I low-key cried. And then I pre-ordered it. That's how bad I wanted to get this book in my hands, and that's kind of the reaction that I felt after reading the synopsis. Basically, this follows two sisters who lead very different lives. They're kind of estranged. One is more successful than the other, and they're very distant. But they are brought together by this one event where one of the sisters gets diagnosed with uterine cancer, and they have to come together as one of them is dying. And that hit me a little different. First of all, it's about sisters, and this year I've actually been reading so many books with sisters already and sisterhood. If you remember The Project by Courtney Summers, that follows two estranged sisters. The Vanishing Half, that one's about sisterhood. So anyway, I like the concept of talking about sisters and the relationship between them in books, since I myself am an identical twin sister, so that to me just hits differently. When I read that, I feel seen, I feel the emotions and the relationships, and it's just so relatable. But then I also read the part about the character, one of the main characters who has uterine cancer, and that just felt too specific to me. My grandma recently was diagnosed with uterine cancer in 2020, and the year has just been a whirlwind of dealing with that, and I've never, I think it's just gonna hit differently. I've read a lot of books with characters who have cancer, but I think it's going to hit differently reading about this one and how specific it is, and especially after my grandma's diagnosis, it's just going to hit a lot differently. And I know that I'm going to probably cry through this book because I'm just going to be thinking about my grandma and thinking about my sister. So I thought I'd bring you along with me with the trail of tears. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to be reading this book this weekend, and hopefully I'm going to finish it. It's about 400-ish pages, 300-ish on the high end of 300 pages. So I'm hoping to finish this. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been doing, and I'm going to be reading. It's Saturday morning, and I'm going to read until about lunchtime, and then I'm going to grab something to eat. But yeah. Okay, I was going to start the book, and then I turned the page, and look what I see. This is the most beautiful content warning I've ever seen. I've never actually seen a book with a formal content warning. So yeah, I'm gonna put content warnings in the beginning as well, before you watch the video, because I will be talking about it. But yeah, also look at this. I flipped the page and look, it's a Billie Eilish quote from, I believe, When the Party's Over, which I think is really cool. I've never, like, this is just awesome. I love Billie Eilish, and yeah. Hello, it is it's like in the afternoon now, and I've been reading for like the entire morning other than just like eating and doing things. I've just been reading and I am like a third of the way through. This is actually taking me less time than I thought it would. The writing, Mary H.K. Choi's writing is very like, how do I explain it? Emergency Contact took me a while to read, and I think it's just because her writing is like very sophisticated, and sometimes at points it doesn't feel like young adult, but it is a young adult. The demographic is young adult, so sometimes when I'm reading it I like get confused, or I just have to like read over sentences because her writing's just very sophisticated. That's why I feel like it's like hard to get into, but now I'm like reading it, getting used to it. And yeah, I thought it was really interesting how so far the perspective, like the narrator of the book is it's only one of the sisters, and it's Jane, and I don't think there is any chapters where June is speaking, so the entire book is told through Jane's perspective, which I thought was interesting because when you read like the synopsis, I originally thought it was going to be like dual perspective. So that's an interesting like writing like choice from the author. I'm really enjoying it so far. I think there's so many things to talk about, and I'm gonna wait to talk about them because I still have a lot more to read. But on first like read, like through the first like 1/3 of the book, the relationship between these sisters is super complicated. Definitely unlike my relationship with my twin sister. They definitely had a falling out a few years ago that isn't really explained in depth, but I think that's like their natural bond with each other, how they like gripe at each other. I love how in this book it's literally how I talk to my sister. Like I call her like a fuckface and like shit, like bad words. I love how the curse is in this book because that's just kind of how like the banter is with a sister. If you've had a sister or a sibling, is you kind of just go at each other, but under all of that you like love them so much. You say these curse words and you say these bad names to them with like so much love. So yeah, I'm loving that relationship right now, and reading it is just reminding me so much. I low-key cried at the part, like you can see through Jane's perspective, her sister she realizes that like her sister June, who's usually so put together and very unlike Jane, is kind of spiraling and coming undone through like figuring out that she has cancer. Her life is kind of like it's like everything's out of whack. So Jane, I think putting it in Jane's perspective, like her like watching all of this fall apart and watching her sister as someone unrecognizable is just super interesting and so freaking sad. And I already have like welled up a little bit at times when reading this book. I haven't full out cried yet, but it's just my heart is just so heavy. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far, and hopefully I also have been using yellow post-its. I will show you later, but I usually love using post-its that match my book. But anyway, I am enjoying it so far. Alright, I'm back. I went downstairs to the mailing room and I was so excited because I had a book package from Hachette, so I did a little unboxing. I just opened it and then I threw out the package and washed my hands right away. Hachette sent me The Phone Booth at the Edge of the World by Laura Ime Messina. This book is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if you can see it. It is so pretty. There's like a little phone booth here. And apparently this is a work of translated fiction. It is inspired by a real phone booth in Japan with its disconnected wind phone, a place of pilgrimage and solace since the 2011 tsunami. So this follows our main character, and she loses both her mother and daughter in the tsunami. And she hears about this phone booth that basically there's an old disused phone booth that has been used by many people who go in there and connect to their loved ones, their lost loved ones. And so she makes a pilgrimage to the phone booth and kind of deals with her own grief and heartbreak. This sounds absolutely beautiful. I've seen some of my Bookstagram friends receive this, so I'm super excited to read it. And yeah, that is it for book mail. I'm going to do some homework now before I get back into reading. Hello, back for another update. So it is about it's like 6 p.m. right now. I just got back from taking a walk. I went to get a smoothie and I just took a walk with some of my friends. Social distance because it's beautiful out and it's a beautiful sunny day, and I've just been reading this entire day. Like, this is how much I've read, and I feel like that's like a lot for a single day because usually I need to like rest. And I just came here to update you just because I've been noticing something. This book I think definitely talks about like the sister relationship in such an interesting way. I think most books that I've read about sisters it's either been like really positive in a positive light, like this really strong sister relationship that's built off of like support and like constant love, and like it's very scarcely viewed in this negative way. But I think this book, there are some moments we get like anecdotes, stuff about these two sisters, June and Jane, and how their childhood has affected the way they've grown up, and how like one is older than the other. June is older than Jane, and how June has basically been bullying her sister Jane ever since she was like growing up. First of all, I can totally relate to all of this. I definitely think this is probably the most like transparent book in terms of like sister bullying, like sibling bullying or sibling relationships, sibling rivalries especially. There's just one line that I want to point out. Sisters never stand a chance to be friends. We're pitted against each other from the moment we're born. A daughter is a treasure. Two is a tax. First of all, beautiful writing. Holy shit. Everything about this book is just, the writing is fantastic. But I just want to point that out because like the sisters in this book, they aren't twins. Like June is like 2.5 years older than Jane. So, but even then they're still thought of, like people still think they're twins. People still compare them as if they were twin sisters. Like she says in the beginning, you could be twins, says everyone when they find out that, you know. So I feel like it's a bigger pressure than actually being twins, because especially if you're not twins and you're compared as twins, it's just even worse because you're like, we're really not twins, and you're still getting filed under the name. I don't know, that's something that came up in my head because some of the parts in this book are like really, really harsh. Like the things that she says, like it's all things that I've experienced in life, like things that I've said to my sister, things my sister has said to me, but just a lot of books don't express this, like don't talk about the dark side or like the really harsh bullying sometimes in sister relationships or in sibling relationships for that matter. So I just wanted to point that out, and I thought it was interesting.
Hello, it is like midnight, I think. It's like midnight. I've been like reading, and I'm actually super surprised that I'm like, if you can see where I'm at, I'm almost at the end of the book. I am so like surprised and like kind of confused why I'm going so fast for this book. Just for a little heads up, normally I don't read this fast and don't read this much. But I basically read like over 300 pages today, which kind of freaks me out because I remember in my first Mary H.K. Choi book, Emergency Contact, that book took me so long to get through, and I just didn't really vibe with the writing that much. I said in that, when I read that book, that the writing was super sophisticated. Like I felt like I needed like a PhD to like read her writing, because I felt like it was just so sophisticated. There's so much vocabulary, and like just it was hard to follow along. But I think this book, because she's like written, I mean, it's her third novel now, I think she's definitely like, her writing is just easier for me to get into for some reason, and I'm flying past it. I can't tell if I like it. I am really enjoying it, but I can't really tell. There's something that's off and I can't tell what it is. But yeah, there was this really emotional part that I almost cried at. I feel like this book, I haven't cried yet, which I'm really surprised, especially with the topics that are being covered, but I think it's because a lot of the pain and the grief is covered with like dark humor, which is, if you're not into that, you're definitely not gonna like this book, because it's like chock full of dark humor and like self-deprecating shit. But anyway, there's this one chapter where the character who has cancer, I keep forgetting, June, is talking to like the doctor about the surgery and about like the pain. And my grandma actually got the same surgery that the main character in this book went through, and like I didn't really understand at the time when I was watching her go through that, because she always said she never felt well, and I didn't really believe her. I'm like, what does not feeling well mean? Like, what do you mean, like, grandma, like when you say you're not feeling well? And just reading that part really hit me in the gut, because I was reading about what this character actually goes through, and that's like essentially what my grandma went through, and it was just really hard to read. I didn't cry, but I was also just I FaceTimed my grandma right after, and I called her and I was asking how she's doing, and she's doing fine now, but just there was a time when she wasn't doing fine. So just want to update you. I think I'm gonna go to bed because I'm really tired. But yeah, I will finish the book tomorrow, which is really exciting. I just finished the book. And I don't know if I want to cry or like, it was just so beautiful. And I feel like I'm gonna have like a panic attack. Like I feel like heavy, and I just feel like my throat's like clamped, which is how I usually feel before I have like a panic attack. Or there's just so many things. Like I'm gonna need to process it a little, and then I'll come circle back. But I just finished the book, and I literally woke up at like 9 a.m. to read it because I was gonna finish it last night, and then I was like, no, I shouldn't like rush it because I do want to have more content and I want to be able to read this over the weekend. So I put it down, and I had like 50 pages left, and I just finished those 50 pages, and holy shit, y'all, I haven't read a book like this in a while. All right, I'll check back later.
Hello everyone, welcome back. It is the next day. It is Monday, and I finished the book early in the morning on Sunday, but I definitely needed some time to process it, and I think taking the entire day yesterday after I read it to process it was really helpful. I actually got to talk to my friend who I buddy read the book with, and we FaceTimed and talked a little bit about it. I also FaceTimed my grandma just because after reading this book, I just really had to talk to her. So now I'm going to do a little wrap up. I've had some time to gather my thoughts, and I also wrote some stuff down that I thought would be helpful because I tried filming a wrap up yesterday, actually last night, and I filmed like 4 or 5 times, and I could just not like get my words out at all about this book. So anyway, I wrote stuff down. We're gonna go over it. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. After evaluating and thinking about it, I decided that I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. And I'm gonna do a little rating system, just how Kayla does it from Books and Lala, how she basically, because she gave it 5 stars, she lists like 5 things that she likes about it, or like explains the 5 stars. So I'm gonna do that too because I feel like it's the best way to sum up this book without rambling or going on too much. So the first star is for the multi-layered and 3-dimensional characters that Mary H.K. Choi creates, who just felt so realistic. I think a common theme with a lot of her books is that she does a really good job of writing about being in the head of a young person who's like navigating life, who's figuring out their identity. I think that was a huge theme in this book, like visibility and I think identity, and I think this main character who was lost at many times, she did such a good job writing that, and I think like, because I hate using the word relatable, but it low-key was relatable. So yeah, so even though we get to read from one perspective, which is Jane's perspective, only one of the sisters, I was clearly able to differentiate between like which sister was talking when we were in the dialogue scenes, which there's a lot of. So I think because she was able to distinguish between these two sisters who are seemingly like very different, but I think also like she did such a good job like fleshing them out, so props to that. Also, sorry if you can hear outside, there's like construction going on. This is the only time I could film. The second star is for the sensitivity with which she handles these themes and subjects of eating disorders, anxiety, depression, family, culture, and of course the main theme in this book, which is cancer. I think it was so well done, and I think at first I thought it was kind of overwhelming to have all of those themes and subjects play out in this book, and I was kind of like, how is this going to play out? Is this going to be really overwhelming to read? But I think she did such a good job weaving them in throughout the story and kind of showing that, like, I guess showing how normalized it was to have so much going on in your life that is like hurting you and also like shaping you as a person. So that's a cool thing. The third star I want to give is to the writing. As I said in the beginning of this video, I read her first book, I think back in 2018, I don't know when, but I was still in high school, and I remember really not liking her writing, and I think it was just because I was younger. Like, I'm not saying that if you're younger you won't enjoy her books, but her writing and the vocabulary that she uses is very sophisticated to the point where I feel like in high school I just didn't understand it, so I didn't bother enjoying the story or anything. But I think the writing, because it's so sophisticated, I feel like it was made for me. Like I said, it might not be everyone's cup of tea because the character herself, we're inside the head of this character who's very sarcastic, who uses a lot of dark humor to cover up the pain and grief, and it's very self-deprecating. So if you don't like that kind of writing, you might end up really despising this main character, or despising her sister as well, because they're both just very much that same way, very sarcastic, and I really like that. I thought it added a little bit of humor to the really dark issues that were being talked about. So yeah, so I can see why I didn't enjoy the book in 2018, like when I read Emergency Contact. 4 stars is for, the fourth one is for just the emotional feeling that I got from this book. This book, I feel like it was super hard to read at times, but at the end of it I was kind of shook. I was like, I feel like I keep saying related, but I related to it on another level because of the topics that were talked about and how it made me feel after, and how I connected so much with this sister relationship. So I give books, granted I give them stars because they made me feel some sort of way, and just the emotional aspect of any book just makes it so much better. And lastly, the 5th star goes for the romance, because I actually didn't expect there to be romance in this book with so much shit going down, but there is a romance in this book. It is absolutely adorable. It is so, just the way it was woven into the story, it just made sense, and it was just beautiful, and you kind of just yearn for this kind of romance that she gets into, that develops in the story, and you're just like, I want this romance for myself. So I love that. That's why I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. And I do have something to show you guys. So yesterday I stalked the author's Instagram page, because usually after I read a book I become obsessed with the author and how they connect with their fans and stuff. And I went on her Q&A highlight, and so I'm gonna put it up on the screen, but someone asked, what's your favorite out of context line of dialogue from Yolk? And there's a line in the book that says, if I so much as see you at H Mart, I get right in his face, or even Sunrise Mart, I will fucking ruin you. So out of context, I feel that it just sounds hilarious. And I don't know if where you live has an H Mart, but in New York, that's the Asian grocery supermarket, and Sunrise Mart as well. And I just thought it was really funny in the context in the book. If you read it, it's just absolutely hilarious. And it kind of caught me off guard, because I read it and I was like, whoa, she's serious. And the next one is, someone asked, how did you decide on the title? And she said, yolk. Lots of play on words, yellow awash in whiteness, the part of the egg I didn't eat for 2 decades when I had an eating disorder, the tie that binds beasts of burden, fertility, and the biological structures foisted on women. When I first saw this cover and title, I had no idea what this was, but I kind of did connect it to the uterine cancer, but it's really amazing to see how the idea of the yolk, the word, has so much more meaning other than just relating to the cancer. So I thought that was interesting and wanted to share with you guys. But other than that, this is my reading vlog for Yolk. I enjoyed this, and I'm so excited that I got to take you with me on reading this, because I feel like this is a book that had a really big effect on me, and I won't shut up about it for months to come, but it had a really big impact on me. I was just really emotional yesterday after reading it. So yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the reading vlog. I will come at you with more weekend reading vlogs. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more, and I will see you guys on my next video. Bye.